have been able to play a private alpha build of the highly anticipated city builder Pioneers of Pagonia. From the original creator of the Settlers series, Volker Wertich. Now you may have seen on my channel my coverage of the latest Settlers installment, the Settlers New Ally, which launched earlier this year. If you haven't, don't hesitate to look in the video description below after watching this one for my review of the game or also the full let's play of the campaign. Needless to say, in summary, the majority of the fan base was not impressed with the Settlers New Ally, which basically plays a lot like a poor Age of Empire rather than city builders. And while Volker was actually involved in that Settlers New Ally early in the development, he parted ways with Ubisoft currently when they decided to move towards that competitive multiplayer direction of Age of Empire. And that's where the journey for Pioneers of Pagonia started in his mind. Officially announced less than 1 year ago, the game is already playable. Everything you see on the screen right now is actual gameplay from my time with the game. And more importantly, starting today on the 2nd of October 2023, you can play a demo of the game. That demo is not exactly what I played. It has some limitations, like you can only build around 100 buildings per city. Your territory can only expand 80,000 square meters, but don't worry, that's a lot. And of course, remember that this is the first demo less than 1 year into development, so the game is far from finished. But compared to many games actually releasing these days, you may be surprised. So let's talk about the great, the good, the bad, and the ugly from my time in the game. And then I'll also cover what comes next for it, so stay tuned for that. First, with the great is we can clearly feel the settlers' influence. We have a ship arriving on a new island. You're gonna have hundreds or even thousands of settlers walking around in your city, transporting resources, doing jobs. And this is definitely not moving into the competitive multiplayer direction that many of us hated with the new Settlers title. Instead, this is clearly a city building. You will have fighters to fight the thieves and bandits, but the only multiplayer they're planning is actually co-op, so you can build your perfect city with your significant other or friends. Now moving to the good, while this is still early in development and according to the team a lot of the assets still need to be implemented, I do think it's pretty. It's obviously not the most beautiful graphic you've ever seen, but remember that we're also talking about thousands of pioneers that will be walking around your city doing jobs, so you can't have perfect graphic. But for me they're fine. Similarly, the game optimization usually happens at the end of the development cycle, but in this build, I felt everything was fine. I didn't have a single crash in my several hours of playing, and no major optimization issues either. Now let's move to the bad. And to be clear, by bad, I mean, if this is not fixed by release time, I'll be disappointed. But I do know that many of these points I'm going to mention are actually on the mind of the team. They are planned before release. I just want to make sure they do it. First of all, the UI at the top. I think it still needs a bit of work. I love that you can customize, for example, which resources will appear at the top, right? If I only want to see one thing, I can choose to see one thing. If I want to see multiple, I can see multiple. But for me, it's missing things like clear visual showing what is going up, what is going down. You know, am I going to run out of food soon or not? This is also linked to a clear production statistic menu, like, you know, Control Q in Anno 1800 if you're familiar with it. But again, I know they're working on that. On the top right corner of the screen, you have objectives. This is a bit like a tutorial, right? They're telling you what you should build next. And that is great, but I hope they will work on a bit more user-friendly, maybe dynamic tutorial, maybe with a quick story, right? For new player to this genre, I think it would be great. Of course, I'm not saying that every single map should have this, but anyway, even today in the options in gameplay, you can already take out, you know, those objectives or those hints. Lastly, for the bad, the current build is focused on pure city building aspects. And I think it is quite important that they continue adding other game mechanics like neutral or enemy factions on the map, small challenges or events, achievements and more. Again, I know they are working on some of those things, but for me the game really wouldn't be complete without this. Now for the ugly, there is one thing I want to mention. You know, if you think back about the Settlers New Ally, I had 3 no-go topics, things that really made me say I will never replay this game until they are fixed. The first one was how simplified the city building had been made. Pagonia for this one clearly is doing well. There's more production building, it's a lot more focused on that management. Second is Settlers, the new ally, really moved into this competitive multiplayer space where the only goal really is just to take over your enemy. And frankly, that really wasn't hard. The enemy was bad, the AI was bad. Here, this is not the point, right? The point is to create the gigantic city, take over the map. This is a lot more about your own pleasure. But the third and final problem I had with the Settlers was the pace. And unfortunately, I think here it is also a bit of a problem. The Settlers new allied, everything was just so slow. People were working slowly, production were slow. I was spending most of my time playing, just waiting. It's not a good experience, right? And while Pioneers of Pagonia won't be a competitive multiplayer games, and a lot more, should be a relaxing city building, I still think they need to implement speed options. Players need to be able to play at the pace that they want. I'd love to have sometimes a button that can be 1, 2, 3 speed, where I'm building, or when there's a problem in my city, I can be in speed 1. But when I just want to see the city move, I've built everything I want and I want to make reserves of food or those type of things, I can go to a higher speed. In summary, before we talk about what's coming next, I'm really impressed with the state of the game. After less than 1 year in development, this is amazing. It's not perfect yet, of course, as I've said, but if the team continues to listen to the feedback of fans to improve the game, this could be a great gem. Now, what is coming next? Well, first and foremost, as I said earlier, there is now a live demo. In the description below, I've put the link to the Steam page where you can download it. And do note that it will likely be taken down toward the end of October, so make sure that you test it before. But more importantly, on December 13 of this year, 2023, the game will go into early access. I'm not always a huge fan of early access, but I think the game is already in a good state, and in particular if it helps the developers to get more feedback, to improve on that feedback, I'm all for it. In particular because this is not gonna be the price of the Settlers new ally, they are planning a price probably of $29.99. And if they deliver what they promised so far, that you can see on the screen, things like neutral factions, enemy camps, various objectives on the map, even procedural maps so that you can have a lot of different maps, trading systems and more, just all of this before launching the early access, I feel it could be a great deal. But I'm keen to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Also, a few days after publishing this video, I'm going to publish another one, which may already be on the screen, where I'm going to play this game, Pioneer of Patagonia, on a new map from start to finish. So you can really see exactly how the game feels. If that video is not live yet, I suggest you still check my channel, maybe subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you for watching, smash the like button, and I hope to see you next time.